To talk more about the larger takeaways here, I'm joined by Stacey Abrams, founder of Fair Fight Action, co-founder of the Southern Economic Advancement Project. I thought that ad from Biden was interesting, and I thought sort of an indicator of where you might see the message tomorrow in this debate, which is Trump does all sorts of things that are outrageous or heinous or offensive, but there's sort of a category of things that relate back to what he does as president substantively that to me always seem to cut deeper when you're in an election. And this seems to me an example of that. I'm curious what you think.
I think it signals once again that Trump doesn't care about everyday Americans, whether it's stealing their health care by putting Amy Barrett on the Supreme Court, pursuing during the midst of a pandemic an attempt to eviscerate the healthcare that millions of Americans depend on, refusing to pay his fair share, lying about it to the public for 4 years. He doesn't actually care about everyday Americans. And in contrast, Joe Biden does. Joe Biden has grown up always focusing on how he can help others, what he needs to do to serve. And for Donald Trump, service has never been part of the product.
You know, it's interesting. I was watching some NFL football this weekend, and there was a few Trump national ad buys, and one of them was just a sort of roundtable of folks, everyday Americans saying, like, Trump cares about people like me. One of the women says, Trump cares about people like me. And it cracked me up a little because it's one of these classic polling things I'm sure you've experienced as a candidate, right? Like, cares about people like me is one of these definitive polling questions. And when I saw that ad, I just thought, oh, they must be upside down on that question in their own internal polling and are trying to get on the right side of it.
Absolutely. I mean, look at his schedule for the past week. He flew down to Georgia to pretend that he cared about Black people. He has spent millions of dollars trying to pretend he cares about the lives of those he's ignored through COVID. And he is scrambling to come up with an excuse for why he hasn't invested in the United States. This is someone who likely spent more money supporting India with his tax dollars than he has Indiana. And that's not a way to win an election. It's worse. It's not a way to govern a country or to be an American.
Let me ask you this. I'm going to ask you for an honest answer, which I hope you give me, and it's this: you've been through some tight races. You've been in politics for a long time. You've been in some very tight races. You had a very close and very difficult race in 2018. I think that, if you came from Mars and you looked at this election, you looked at the polling, you would say, like, the incumbent's in a lot of trouble. He's like, the country's in very bad shape and he's pulling down. But there's a lot of anxiety, I think, among Democrats and people in the sort of broad center-left anti-Trump. Do you feel anxiety? Like, what are you feeling as you're surveying the landscape right now?
I don't feel anxiety because my first admonition to everyone is don't panic. We are living through 2020, which is the year of panic, the year of crazed insanity that is only juxtaposed by more crazy or more insanity. But we've also survived 4 years of a Trump administration, and we head into this election not with this sort of glib notion that we can win, but with the understanding we're in a battle. We're against an opponent who lies, cheats, and steals, leading a party that lies, cheats, and steals. They are trying to lie about this election. They're trying to cheat voters out of their opportunities, and they're trying to steal the future. And I don't have anxiety because I know I'm doing everything in my power to push back. But what makes me more sanguine than many is that I know that we are more well organized than we have ever been, that we have people who are voting early, that in Georgia, we are seeing hundreds of thousands of African Americans who are told you don't vote by mail, showing up, trying to get those ballots, young people who've been counted out, applying for ballots, getting ready to vote, signing up to be poll workers. And so I'm not optimistic or pessimistic. I'm determined, and I believe we're prepared.